show's motto, always keep Jesus in your heart. That boot store. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida are proud members of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We'd like to welcome the newest members to the Beach Chamber.
Barbara Busini, LLC, Alex Air Conditioning, G&J Commercial Laundry, Keller Williams Success Realty, and Leather and Lace Wedding and Event Company.
Congratulations from the area's only sports radio station, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Serving overseas was just the beginning. We might be home from war, but our mission continues in communities all across the country. It's why we're out there in times of peace and crisis, providing meals to the hungry and supplies to the sick. It's why we're giving strength to those who are too weak and bringing resources to those without them. Service doesn't stop when we're done serving. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org. No man, no woman, no one left behind. For the VFW, it's a credo that stands long after our fighting days are over, because our service never stops. We're still serving, which is why we pledge to help our own, no matter where they are or when they need us. Standing in lockstep with those who stood so courageously for everyone else. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org.
Hi, I'm Gary LaVox from Rascal Flats. You know, music has always been a huge part of my life. It's something that I started pursuing as a kid and never gave up on. It took a lot of hard work and dedication, but it paid off. Music has allowed me to travel around the world and to meet a lot of interesting people. So don't let anybody tell you that your dreams aren't possible, because they are. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
The SEC lives here. WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, Holocaust. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Transmission starts in 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room. The Afternoon Underdogs are taking your calls live. 850-215-6290. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Underdogs, you guys are listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and we've got a great show planned ahead for you guys today. If you need to let off some of the there we go. All right, man. Another fantastic edition, a great day, beautiful day compared to yesterday. Did hear a little bit of thunder out there rumbling God's cash register, as Steve Youngblood puts it, because anytime that thing gets to rumbling out there, someone needs some assistance. We've got a great show planned for you today. Alan Watson coming up in the next segment. We'll be talking to the owner of Golf Plus, Brad Law, Director of Broadcast Operations with Auburn University, on with us at 4:30 today. Sam Peebles with the Braves Dugout Podcast at 5. Todd Mueller with PCB Coins and Cards at 5:15. Then we're going to finish up with our high school preview with Coach Andy Siegel today at 5:30. Let's start it off with Rapid Fire. He said, my bad.
Sure, why not?
Here we go.
All right, Rapid Fire.
Oh, that sounds like an AR-15.
It's time for Rapid Fire.
All right, so you guys talked a little bit about this on the Coach James Hill Show this week, but I'm interested to get you guys' opinion. How big of a deal is Miles Brennan leaving the game of football? And then what are some of the outside situations that we're dealing with here, especially with the NIL? We'll start with you, Brian.
It surprised me at first, but then I realized this was his 6th year. And so if he wasn't going to be the starter, that kind of made sense. It wasn't a shocking. What is interesting is that he's got a lot of NIL deals because he was going to be the prospective starter at LSU, which, of course, would command some money. And he gets to keep those deals because they cannot be performance-based. That's right. So, hey, good for him. He ain't got to take a hit, and he can get all the Raising Cane's chicken fingers he wants.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all. No.
I think it's still wild he went back to LSU. Whoever talked him into going back.
You know, that's a valid point. You had to see the writing on the wall. He went back, and, you know, it's what it is. But, you know, you're right. They cannot. That's the whole thing when the first NLI started. I actually told that to Coach Hale. I said, this is a business transaction, and they can't say this is for performance. They can't say, hey, we're going to bring David to Louisville and have David come play quarterback, and if David gets beat out, David can't pay back the money. David keeps that money. David can sit on the bench for 4 years and never have to play he wouldn't. He'd be the starter day two. But if it happened,
I'd be the starting backup day two.
Yeah, he was a St. Stanislaus kid, so South Mississippi. I think he had been an LSU guy his whole life, so I get it. I think he had entered the portal briefly, came back, looked like he had a good shot. When Jaden Daniels transferred in from Arizona State, that's when the writing was on the wall, I think.
Yeah. And the thing is, the kid didn't come from Arizona State looking for a spot that wasn't there. He didn't come to sit on the bench, and somebody got him to come there. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
When that portal opens up, these guys are shopping. It's like buying a car. You know, I'm going to go to the lot that has the car. I'm not one that doesn't. You know, David, you did it with Austin. When Austin was going through the portal, the NAI portal, a little bit smaller portal.
Still, portal nonetheless.
Less prestigious, but still, yeah, you were actually with him going through that stuff. So that was kind of interesting. And then, you know, it was the same thing. He was looking for a place to find and needed a linebacker and that he could trust and all that. And it's the same thing with this kid. And unfortunately, if you're the guy that's there and some guy comes in and takes your spot, the bad news is you're no longer the man. The good news is you're a wealthy man.
How do we feel about him being able to hold on to the NIL the NIL money, though? I know that it's not for the on-field product, but is this something that the NCAA is going to have to look a little deeper into? Because this was one of the points that Nick Saban made in his tirade against Jimbo Fisher.
Yes, but I'm going to add something. If I hire Mr. Bengals over here to represent my company, okay, this is a business transaction, and I don't like the performance, right? I can go hire Pohl over here. He's no longer that guy. So this quarterback that's representing Chicken Fingers, okay, he's not a great sponsor. He's not a great promoter. He doesn't. Yeah. People don't know who he is. Then guess what? It's out. But the bottom line is you don't know what that contract was they signed. Yeah. So I guarantee you it was at least a 1 year deal. Yeah. So for 1 year he's keeping that. And he's a sixth year.
He was sixth year. Yeah.
So it really works out for him. But the bottom line is, you know, it is a business transaction. It can't be based off performance, but it can be based off of does he show up and do commercials and you know signings and stuff, right? Or whatever they paid him for.
They're paying for his likeness, not his performance.
Exactly.
That is.
So if his likeness isn't there, then he's out.
There you go.
That is wild. Aaron Rodgers made some remarks, some complaints, bemoaning his receivers and what's going on there in camp. Coach, we're going to start with you on this one. Get your thoughts and takes. How does this bode? It can't bode well when you're having some disruption between the quarterbacks and the receivers.
Well, first of all, I thought he went and found a guru or something was going to be chilled this year and quit complaining about everything.
It was a drug, ayahuasca, but whatever.
Well, whatever it is, it ain't working. This guy has been consistently that way his whole career. When he was the backup to Favre, it was a complaint that I want to play. No, you shouldn't have played. He's better than you. Then when he got in there, it's always been, I want this, I want that. You know, quit complaining and play football. And if you don't want to play anymore, quit playing. You don't hear Tom Brady doing that stuff. Yeah. And if he does complain, I promise you he does it in private. He doesn't do it. So what it is now he's causing all this stuff on the field. His wideouts are sitting there saying, well, this guy's complaining about drop balls. Then guess what? I won't even reach out for the next one and make you look even worse and make it harder on you. And then he starts complaining about the O-line. There's the old lookout block that could happen. And guess what? Boom, you get hit by a defensive end on the blind side because that left tackle steps the wrong way accidentally. And, he's not getting fined for that because it was an accident, but you just got lit up.
100% agree. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers hadn't always complained all the time about everything, you would understand it because he lost a guy he had very close relationship with. Sure. So it would make sense. But yeah, he's complained like this every year about everything. It's just typical Aaron Rodgers. So you just move on.
It's like Brett saying he's going to retire. And
exactly.
Aaron Rodgers is going to complain.
I want to take the other side and say Aaron Rodgers is trying to get the guys fired up and ready for the season.
That's not a terrible take. The thing is there's a track record here, and so that's where the problem lies for me. Is you lost Devontae Adams, who was your go-to. He was your comfort blanket, your comfort zone. Now you're not going to be able to fire up guys like Alan Lazard. They lost Valdez Scantling. Christian Watson is supposed to be the number 2 guy. You don't fire those guys up with negativity. I think that if you're gonna be, if you used ayahuasca or whatever it's called to get yourself back-to-back MVPs, what is the feeling that gives you, right? Peacefulness, apparently. I've never done it, but I'm saying from what I've read, right? Peacefulness, right? So why would you want to disrupt your chakra or whatever it is in the yoga world with? Yeah, I know, right? I'm surprised. I'm surprised at myself here,
Coach,
but you know,
Coach, we're getting left in the dust here. I don't know if we're in on this discussion.
I don't know, peace, dude. I don't know what he's talking about.
But that's what they need is a little bit more peace in the locker room and lead by. It's hard to lead by example as a quarterback, but hey, positive, because these guys are young and impressionable. You tick them off to the point of drop passes, and then God forbid the offensive line gets like you were mentioning there, because then you could be talking about something no one wants to talk about, but an injury for Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Coach knows this better than anybody. Wide receivers are divas.
Mm-hmm.
They are. There's no doubt. You don't want to go in that room to start with.
Exactly. So you want to build those guys up. You don't want to tear them down.
No, you can't even talk to those guys.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, outside of your team, if they were playing a big game in college football week 1, which game are you looking forward to the most? We'll start with you, Brian.
Oh, you mean Alabama, Utah State's not a big game?
I'm outside of your team, though. That's the caveat. So outside
honestly,
of
the biggest game is probably Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, for me, the one I'm the most interested in, because it's going to tell us if we're done with this nonsense we've had the last couple of years. Florida State LSU is huge.
I love that.
It's not week 1, though.
Well, it's not week 1 for Florida State. It's week 1 football.
We got technicalities all over the place today.
I agree. That one's the one to me that's going to say, can Florida State kind of break through what they've gone through? And it will also, on the other side, tell me if Brian Kelly's got the troops going right away or if it's going to take a little bit of time. That game interests me.
Coach Siegel.
Okay, I'm going to go like to Mars on this first one. I'm talking about Florida State versus Duquesne. And
Okay.
the reason I'm saying it is we talked about it last week. LSU's going to watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State's going to get a chance to play. Are they going to do everything they can do and open up the book? Because the bottom line is if you even play Duquesne close, do you know what that does to recruiting?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be sitting in them stands, so trust me, I'm watching. I'm going to be sitting with some recruits, and I'm going to watch to see. And I know, having talked to somebody on the staff this morning at 9 a.m., that they are bringing a bunch of recruits into that game.
Yeah.
So they've got to put on their best foot forward. But at the same side, they got to get those guys off the field so they can get ready for LSU. So that's why I'm interested in that game more than anything is, all right, if Florida State's real, it's got to be a 60-point win.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. And to the point of recruits, you got to think last year, the game against Notre Dame, recruiting got maybe a little bit more exciting, right? And then the loss to Jacksonville State. It was just up and down all year. For me, the one I'm looking forward to the most, I love the Notre Dame Ohio State. I think that game's going to be a lot more offensive than what maybe we're thinking defensively. Who knows how that Ohio State Buckeyes defense is going to look this year? But former defensive coordinator Dan Lanning going up against the Georgia Bulldogs. What are we going to see from the defending champions? I'm more than stoked for that game. What do you got for us over there, Miles?
I'm going to go with Utah versus Florida. I think this game shows a
Love it.
lot, and whoever wins this game, I think, has good potential to ride off into the sunset and potentially play in their conference championship and give that team big momentum.
All right.
Hey, that's just going to be a great day of football.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I
2
totally
days of
forgot
football.
about that Oregon thing. You think about how many times in practice those two went against each other, the coordinators.
Exactly right.
I mean, that's been, all right, let's find out who's the real man. Is it Monken or Lanning?
Yeah.
Hey.
Man.
Bo Nix got another shot at Georgia, too.
Amen. And he's got a little grudge to pick because
Yes, he does.
SEC thinks he's not very good.
Yep.
That is such a storyline that's going to be interesting to watch, right? Because everyone wrote wrote him off. I mean, I was thankful that he was. Anytime I knew Bo Nix was a starting quarterback for Auburn, it's like, all right, we're going the opposite way. Because if it was now big game Bo Nix is a different quarterback than every single day or your regular game Bo Nix. So this is a big game. And what was his first game with the Auburn Tigers? Who was he going up against?
Yeah, Captain Underthrow against Oregon.
Exactly.
Absolutely right.
We'll see how this plays out. I love that take as well. Would you guys be more surprised if Florida or LSU missed a bowl game this year?
I'd be more surprised if LSU missed one just because I think Florida's schedule is tougher. I also think LSU's probably a little deeper than Florida is. So as the season goes on, that's probably going to wear on Florida. And Florida starts with a brutal run. I mean, they've got Utah, they've got Kentucky, and then South Florida, but then they got Tennessee. I mean, they could be 1-3 to come out of the gate and not play poorly. So it would surprise me more if LSU missed a bowl than Florida.
Coach?
Yeah, I'm going to have to 100% agree with that because you just look at the schedule, and I don't know how much – I know Florida's got depth because they're Florida, but do they really have depth? Whereas LSU is loaded for bear. It's just a matter of Coach Kelly coming in and, understanding the culture, not faking an accent. And
no more dancing.
And learning that it's not corned beef, it's boudin, and he'll be all right.
Family. I mean, I was about to say, you got to keep your family in check, man.
Yeah, from Massachusetts, he's talking like that.
All right, man. One more here. Does Kenny Pickett end up being the starter by the end of the year for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Start off. Miles, what do you think?
I think he does. Mitch Trubisky's a great backup quarterback, and he sits behind Kenny Pickett towards the end of the year, and he's on that team for the next 20 years.
Coach Siegel.
I'm a Bears fan. So I'm so glad that he's not with the Bears. And I am so glad that he's with the Steelers. And I watched Pickett play, and he's great. But let me tell you something. Those defenses in the NFL move a lot faster than those college defenses. So, young man, sit your butt on the bench, learn the game, become a great one instead of throwing in the fray and wash out in 2 years.
Brian, what are you thinking?
What did we see today? News that Mason Rudolph may be getting moved. That tells me they're higher on Pickett now than maybe they thought they would be. Pickett will be the starter by week 8.
By week 8. I like that. I'm going to be a believer in Trubisky this year. Pro Bowler Mitch Trubisky. What he was able to do with Matt Nagy and get them to the playoffs. Now he's got a better coach. That Steelers defense is going to be back. If they can take a little bit of the load off of Najee Harris and find a good change of pace back, because you don't want to just run Najee Harris into the ground. You don't want to do with Najee Harris what you've done with Derrick Henry, which taking nothing away from him. Derrick Henry was actually very lucky to have guys like DeMarco Murray in front of him and be able to kind of save the beginning of his career. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're also on 102.1 FM in Marietta. You can watch us on Blab TV in Pensacola. If you don't have them through your TV service provider, get the app on your Fire Stick or Roku TV. Just go to channel search and type in BLAB TV. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back after these messages.
Weather in Northwest Florida can change on a dime.
Gale force winds bombarded with heavy rain.
That's why 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has the most up-to-date forecast on the Gulf Coast. Hi, this is staff meteorologist Tim Root. With over 40 years of experience, I know just how fast we can go from sun and fun to a serious situation. For the most accurate and detailed weather when it matters, rely on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Isolated showers and thunderstorms this afternoon around the listening area. Partly sunny in the low 90s and the winds west-southwest 10 miles per hour. Water temperature in the Gulf 87. Showers and thunderstorms partly cloudy in the mid-70s overnight. Better chance of showers and thunderstorms Thursday into Friday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by KHS and Associates, your source for affordable health insurance. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601, 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Let's face it, nobody wants to deal with the hassle of replacing or repairing a roof. At Extreme Roofing and Construction, they help you avoid the headache so you can enjoy your roof stress-free. Extreme Roofing and Construction works with your HOA for approvals, permits, and even helps with insurance to get your roof repaired within 2 weeks. For over 20 years, Extreme Roofing and Construction has helped residential and commercial clients resolve their roofing needs quickly and efficiently. For more info or to book an appointment, visit ExtremeRoofingPros.com. License number CGC 1511861-CCC1329126.
Lulu's Bar and Resto at Laketown Wharf is the perfect place to eat, drink, and relax. Enjoy a delicious dinner lakeside made with special ingredients. The kitchen is open late until 1 a.m. After dark, the good vibes keep flowing at Lulu's with themed parties and live DJs every single night. Lulu's Bar and Resto, open 7 days a week from 2 p.m. until 2 a.m. with availability for private events and birthday parties. For a complete menu and party schedule, follow Lulu's PCB on Facebook and Instagram.
From Mariana to Panama City, from Southport to Laguna Beach, this is the Panhandle's home for live and local sports coverage. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Rib Crib Radio Room. ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is the new radio home for the Mosley Dolphins. You can follow the Dolphins and Coach Tommy Joe Whitten live play-by-play with myself and Kyle Wright. This Friday, August 19th, the Dolphins on the road against the Rutherford Rams at Tommy Oliver Stadium.
I was hoping you'd read your own name again. I was waiting
I'm not doing that. No more. No more. You know, and I've had to catch myself a few times here where I've been like, David, oh, nope, can't say that. At least when I'm in the booth, I'll be able to say, and it's David Hayes and Kyle Wright. And we've got Alan Watson on the line with us. He's the owner of Golf Plus. Alan, my friend, how's it hanging, buddy?
It's good, man. Just came home to the other home to Dothan to see the guys here and hang out with the wife and the puppy dogs and all that. So just working in the Alabama market right now, and it's hot. And but yeah, we're still rocking and rolling. Still people playing golf. Not quite. Everybody hadn't fallen off onto the football and hunting bandwagon that's about to launch here pretty soon. So,
Miles, we're going to lead off with your question. What do you got for Alan?
I want to know what you think about Cam Smith withdrawing from the BMW championship. He said it's his hip. I think it's because he's going to live and he doesn't want any more backlash.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I don't know him personally, so I don't know. But we've seen this before, not just with Liv, but before that in years past where if a golfer's having a bad run or things aren't going well or they've got personal issues or whatever, they sometimes will withdraw from a tournament. It may not always be directly related to what they say it is. So I don't know, but I tend to agree with you. I think this is probably just a precursor to what's coming, and he didn't want to have to deal with the media scrutiny. And there was all that blow up last week about Scotty Scheffler walking in his line and all that. And I think we know where this is going. So yeah, good on him. Just get it over with. Get out of there. If it's not going to be your home anymore, just get out of there.
Hey, Alan, it's Brian. I know we talk about this every week and all, but obviously the big news this week was Tiger Woods met with the players in regards to, support for the PGA Tour and obviously about this live stuff. In my mind, this looks like a desperate move, but I'm curious as to your take as what do you think went on in that meeting? Was this Tiger rallying the troops? Was this Tiger saying, I'll take the hits for you guys. Y'all just worry about playing golf. What do you think went on in that meeting with Tiger and the rest of the tour players?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm not really 100% sure why they're having that meeting. I thought that at this point, the guys who were tour stalwarts like Tiger and like, all these guys, Justin Thomas, who has been very outspoken, of course, and all that, I thought you could kind of tell who was standing on which side of the line, and I thought we were kind of clear on that. So I'm a little bit surprised. I think that what that tells you is that they think, and maybe Tiger thinks, that maybe there are more things coming, more lawsuits, more problems, more issues, and so they needed to sort of make sure they all had their ducks in a row. I mean, we see the lawsuit this week from Patrick Reed against Brandel Chambly for defamation of character, for all the horrible things that he said about him, and also about the LIV Tour in general. So I think that maybe this is just the PGA Tour guys getting together to make sure that they're presenting a unified front going forward, because this is definitely going to stay ugly for at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, how about this? Because now, before it was established stars, European, older guys, generally speaking. Now with Cam Smith going, with their talk about Cameron Young going, do you think Tiger was brought in specifically to appeal to the young stars and say, you guys stay put, the PGA Tour is where you should be?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think you're right. I mean, Cam leaving is signaling a little bit of a shift in terms of what is going. But I think if we think back to when this whole thing started, and Norman was saying, "Oh, you're going to wait till we announce who's coming, and it's going to be big names." We thought there might be younger names. We thought there could possibly be a Rory name. We thought there could possibly be a big name of Spieth or somebody. And so that's why those guys early on were saying, "Oh no, it's not going to be me," and they were having to sort of defend themselves against the rumors. And so when that first group was announced, and it was like you said, older guys, Mickelson, Perez, and so on and so forth, we were all kind of surprised. So yeah, I think definitely this is just the frustration of the tour, of Jay Monahan and of Tiger and of other people who want the tour to stay intact, and they don't want to lose those younger superstars. I think it's surprising to me that some of the older guys like Stuart Sink and some of those guys haven't left. Maybe they didn't get offered money, I don't know, but I'm just saying, that seems to be where some of these guys are at. And maybe a guy like a Stuart Sink is maybe just saying to himself, look, I'm comfortable. I like living here in the States. I'm going to go play Champions Tour and make a little bit extra money, and I'm going to ride out my time and not worry about it. But somebody like Cameron Smith may be looking at it and saying, you know what, I'm one of the young guns on tour. I'm making tons of money. I'm won 2 of the biggest events this year, and he's looking at, like, what will the next 30 years look like for him, or the next 20 years look like for him, and LIV may seem like the best choice for him. So everybody's kind of having to pick their side, unfortunately. I'm still kind of frustrated that this thing has blown into what it's blown into,
Yep.
Good drama for the game. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We are on the line right now with the owner of Golf Plus, Alan Watson. So in other sports, we see, baseball teams having a tough time. The manager is going to call a meeting, not just the players, a full team meeting. You'll see the same thing in football and basketball. Why don't you think Jay Monahan, the commissioner of golf, was involved with this meeting?
Well, nothing against Jay, and there's definitely been some talk that maybe he hasn't handled this as well as he should have. I know I've been critical of him, but then again, nobody cares. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. Nobody wants to hear my opinion, but hey, whatever. But I think the players probably wanted to discuss him a little bit, or at least the leadership of golf in general. Had those, not hurt any feelings, I guess. And honestly, if I'm Jay Monahan, I probably don't want to be at that meeting. I probably would rather them say whatever they're going to say, and then let whatever comes out of that meeting, whatever press release or whatever comments get made, it's going to be a tapered down version. It's going to be a minimized, what do you call it? It's just going to be a little press release or whatever if somebody ends up commenting. It won't be a full transcript of the whole meeting. So, that's safer for him than for him to be in there. Maybe he gets verbally beat up. Maybe he gets his feelings hurt. And then also, if Tiger is thinking in terms of, I want it to be a free forum where people can say whatever they want, maybe he doesn't want the boss, so to speak, to be in there, the CEO, to hear the grumblings, and then people may not feel like they can be as open and free with their comments if he's sitting there watching. That's kind of my take.
Well, let's talk about Happy Gilmore's caddy for a second here. Will Zalatoris fired his caddy, Ryan Goebel, and then moved on to Joel Stock. And, one change, one win. How big of what do you make of that deal?
Well, I think if you read the comments, and I read as much as I could read about it, Zalatoris was saying that he and his other caddy, his first caddy, were really like best friends. They were really close, and that there was some turmoil that was happening on and off the golf course, and so he just didn't have that feeling anymore. And, the player-caddy relationship needs to either be a very strong boss and then employee relationship like Bubba Watson has always had with his caddies, where he calls all the shots and don't mess with me. Or it can be a Mickelson, where Mickelson was with Bones, and it was like he gave him one veto a year kind of thing, and otherwise just give me my club. Or it can be a very friendly relationship. Sometimes you even have guys where their coach is kind of their caddy or whatever. So I think in this case it was like frat buddies, frat friends. They were really close, and they were hanging out. I think eventually that relationship started to break down, and the frustration, because people were kind of looking at Zalatoris over the last several months and saying this is the next great golfer who just hasn't done it yet. I think that frustration was starting to boil over, and he just needed to make a change. Obviously, he can't fire himself. He could have changed clubs or something like that, but that usually doesn't do it. So the caddy usually ends up being the one holding the bag, no pun intended, when it comes to a player having to make a change. So, and good for him. I mean, the fact that he won, he's not going to win every week just because he made a change, but maybe that tells you where his mental state was. Maybe that was the break he needed to be able to jump over the hump. And he's a great player, and he deserves the success, so good for him. I hate it for the other caddy, but, this does happen sometimes.
It is what it is. Hey, Alan, thanks so much for giving us some of your time this afternoon.
All right, you guys are awesome. I look forward to hearing that guy, David Hayes, whoever he is, on the radio announcing football in the fall. So good luck to him.
Appreciate it, y'all. That is Alan Watson, owner of Golf Plus. 2 great locations, one in Dothan and one at the shops at Edgewater right here in Panama City Beach. Guys, I've had a couple of people that had to drop out of the Fantasy Football League because they're not able to make the draft. So I have 3 spots open right now. Dave & Buster's this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. I've got 3 spots left. All you got to do, text 850-215-6290 with your name and with your email so we can get this draft started and going. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You can listen to ESPN Northwest Florida on 104.3 or the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your touchdown headquarters for the Mosley Dolphins and the Auburn Tigers. Plus, premier college and NFL games. Your source for the most live football on the Gulf Coast in a rich audio experience. 102.1, 104.3 in the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
Isolated showers and thunderstorms this afternoon around the listening area. Partly sunny in the low 90s and the winds west-southwest 10 miles per hour. Water temperature in the Gulf 87. Showers and thunderstorms partly cloudy in the mid-70s overnight. Better chance of showers and thunderstorms Thursday into Friday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Earthworks of Northwest Florida knows it's a perfect time for you to update your home. Whether it's routine touch-ups or a new look, Earthworks has just what you need. Sand, stone, mulch, and gravel, pickup or delivery. Visit earthworks.com and request a quote. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Love the land you live on. Earthworks of Northwest Florida, 2005 Industrial Drive.
There's never been a better time to get your new Toyota. And during our national sales event, you'll get 1.9% APR plus no payments for 90 days on new Toyotas, like the stylish 2022 Camry, the exciting 2022 Corolla, the electrifying 2022 RAV4, and get 1.9% on the 2022 Highlander. Call or visit our website, where you can reserve your new Toyota in about 5 minutes.
For details, visit PanamaCityToyota.com. Offer ends September 6th.
Since 1955, Buddy Gandy's Seafood Market has been providing their customers with the freshest seafood in Panama City. Whether you're cooking something small or hosting a big get-together, Buddy Gandy's has you covered with a variety of fish, oysters, shrimp, crab legs, live blue crabs, a steam bar, and more. They'll even clean your catch for you. Open 7 days a week near the intersection of Beck Avenue and Highway 98. Don't forget to mention 104.3 ESPN for your 10% discount. Visit Buddy Gandy Seafood Market on Facebook.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Auburn Tigers again. And college football's right around the corner. We're kicking the season off this year, September 3rd, versus Mercer. Hear every game in ultra-high fidelity right here. Now on the line with us, Brad Law, Director of Broadcast Operations for Auburn University. Brad, my friend, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great. We're all about high fidelity, not infidelity. Whoa. We're going to be faithful right here on the station, and it's going to be a great time, and we hope everybody tunes in 3 hours before kickoff for Auburn and Mercer. Good time. It's a beautiful day. It's always a beautiful day to talk a little Auburn football.
Well, let's get into the beauty of it. In Brad Law's opinion, Senator Brad Law, what defines a successful season for the Auburn Tigers?
It changes. It changes based on, I think, what the makeup of the team is, what the expectations are going into the year, what kind of injuries you suffer. I mean, right at the beginning of the year last year, the season expectations were different than they were after Auburn started 6-2. Right? They changed after the Ole Miss game, and at 6-2, you go, my goodness, you could have the Iron Bowl be a winner-take-all for the SEC West, and all of a sudden the goals changed to an SEC championship and a rematch with Georgia. And then you lost to A&M, and Bo Nix got hurt against Mississippi and A&M, and now you don't have your starting quarterback for South Carolina or Alabama in the bowl game, and the expectations change a little bit. So right now, I think it is to look at this first set of games, to get through Penn State at 3-0, to get through the first 5 games at 5-0, and to kind of see where you are. I think if you're 5-0 going into the Georgia game, I don't know if that's the expectation across the board, but I know that Auburn fans have eyes on that, and it's not out of question. It's not crazy to think that this team could be 5-0 going into the Georgia game.
Hey, Brad, a lot of the talk has been revolving around the quarterback battle, and Coach Harsin has been, like you would expect, very, diplomatic and coy in his answers, but he also let out that there is some separation in his mind. Do you think that probably means we're looking at TJ Finley being in the driver's seat? And then a second part of that is, assuming Finley is the starter, surely you would have to think that he's got some short yardage and goal line plays designed for Robbie Ashford, wouldn't you think?
I think all of that you just said is logical. I think all of that makes sense without knowing for sure, but because we don't get all the inside intel.
Right.
I think all of that makes sense. I mean, when it's all said and done, right, TJ is the guy who was in this offense all last year. He was getting second-team reps for 80% of the season, but he was still in this offense all of last year. Robbie Ashford came in January. Zach Calzada came in but wasn't able to go through spring fully. So it makes sense that the guy who started a handful of games last year and has more experience in the offense, and oh, by the way, is physically gifted. He's got a cannon for an arm, 6'7", 250 pounds. Teammates have talked about how he's more mobile than he was a season ago. I think that all makes sense. And I think if it is TJ Finley who goes out and starts against Mercer on September 3rd, just 17 days away. I think it's a real credit to the young man who, you think about all of the talk that we have all heard for the last 7-8 months has been, well, they're bringing in Ashford and Calzada, and one of those guys are going to start, and old T.J. Finley's the forgotten man out there. Well, he's heard that too. Everybody's heard it. It's not like those guys are insulated and they don't hear what everybody else hears. So he's been completely written off by everybody for months. How did he respond to it? He didn't quit. He didn't walk away. He didn't seek an easier path. He put his head down, and he worked through spring practice, and he worked through the A-Day game, and he worked through the summer. And I think there's something to be said for a guy who just goes to work no matter who is counting him out, and he sets out to prove what he can do on the field rather than, go out and talk for 8 months about what challenges are ahead of him.
We know about Finley, we know about Ashford, we know about Tank Bigsby. Who's maybe a name we're not hearing right now who you think is going to break out for Auburn this year?
I think particularly there's a couple of freshmen, and I'm interested to see how large a role they can have. I think Damari Olson has turned heads in the running back room. I don't think he's one of the top two, though. And so I don't know that he supplants Tank Bigsby or Jarquez Hunter for carries if both of those first two guys are healthy. But I do think that the coaches have seen shiftiness, speed. Your freshman year, you're going to break more ankles than tackles, right? So he's not the guy that's going to break the tackles that Tank is going to break or Jarquez will break, but he'll make guys miss. I think fans are going to like what they see out of him at the running back position. And then in the wide receiver core, it's up for grabs. Who's going to be the breakout guy? The leading receiver on the team last year in a balanced receiving room. It was balanced, but the leader had fewer than 600 yards receiving. So it's wide open. So Coy Moore comes in from LSU, transfer from LSU. I think you got to watch him. I think he will make an impact on this team. I think Shed Jackson is from all accounts, he's ready for a breakout year. And a freshman, Camden Brown, 6'3", about 205, maybe 210 by the time the season starts. Physical, catches the ball well, really good vertical jump, can win some muscle battles against defensive backs and safeties for jump balls in the end zone. I think he has the ability to come into a wide-open receiving room and make a name for himself early in the year.
Brad, Andy Siegel here. Just want to say, first of all, War Eagle. I got the opportunity to coach an old War Eagle there, Trey Smith, when I was at Venice High School. So, hey, I got a question for you. What do you think these coordinators are going to be bringing to the Tigers this year? You got new one on both sides of the ball, and that's kind of a unique thing when it's not a coaching change. So what does that bring, and is that a good thing, bad thing, or what do you think?
I think that they're bringing a knowledge of the offense. I don't think they're changing the offense or the defense a whole lot. Jeff Schmedding was on the staff last year, and now he's a coordinator, and he's been a coordinator for Brian Harsin before. Eric Keesall was on the staff as a GA and as receivers coach last year. He's not changing the offense per se from what it was, and he brings a familiarity with Brian Harsin. And here's the analogy that I just thought of off the top of my head, and I don't know how good of an analogy this is, but you guys get me to try it out on here we go. Here goes nothing, as they say. So, right, you go to exercise in the morning, and you got your shoes that you're going to put on. It's so much easier and more convenient when they're already untied. You don't have to untie those tightly tied knots first. You just slip them on, tie them, and off you go. But, it's first thing in the morning. You're sleepy. They're not untied yet, so you got to undo the knots, and it just kind of bogs down things. I think what these coordinators and their familiarity bring for Coach Harsin is the equivalent to shoes that are already untied. It's a little easier. It flows a little more smoothly. They know what the head coach expects. He's worked with them before. He knows kind of what their input's going to be and how they respond to him as the head coach and them as the coordinators. So, from an on-field teaching technique perspective, probably not a whole lot different because they already have familiarity with the players. I think the real advantage comes in the form of the familiarity with a head coach.
Sounds good.
You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're chatting with Brad Law, Director of Broadcast Operations for Auburn University. Brad, the road schedule for the Tigers this year, at Georgia, at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, and at Alabama. How do they overcome those road games?
You better win all 8 at home. That's how that's step one to overcoming it. Win the 8 at home. Because if you do that, it means you're playing a level of football that gives you a chance in all 4 of those matchups. Auburn never takes a back seat in the Iron Bowl, and it doesn't matter the year, and it doesn't matter what either team has done to that point. They're not going to back down from any kind of challenge. I'm curious to see what Georgia fields they've recruited at an elite level the last 4 to 5 years. Replacing 9 starters on defense isn't going to be a major task, but it is. They are having to replace those guys now defensively. Ole Miss is the team that Auburn beat last year at home and more handily than the final score would indicate, and maybe the game that